Orders of the day.
Order M54, second reading of Bill 54, an act to amend the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act 1997. Mr. Fraser.
I recognize the member for Ottawa South to move second reading.
54, an act to amend the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act 1997.
Mr. Fraser has moved second reading of Bill 54, an act to amend the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act 1997. Pursuant to Standing Order 100, the member has 12 minutes for his presentation. Member for Ottawa South.
Thank you. And I want to begin by saying it's a pleasure again today to rise to debate Bill 54, a bill to provide WSIB coverage to workers in retirement homes, residential care centres, and group homes. So in the gallery today, we got a bunch of people who are with me this morning who are developmental service workers, personal service workers, who came out this morning to tell their stories. And I just want to recognize them right now for who's here. And we have Andrea Gordon, who's a developmental service worker, group home worker, Erica Valentine, who's also a developmental service worker, Sandy Green, another developmental service worker, Michael Spitali from the Service Employees International Union, and as well too we have Mira Ponomarenko, who is a healthcare coordinator, and Carol Bartley-Frey, who's a cook in a retirement home. And they both were here to tell their stories and stories of their colleagues. Also here are Ian DeWard and Julie Garner with Christian Labour Association of Canada. So both of those organizations represent these workers. And so I was really thankful that they were able to join me this morning because it's important that we tell this story. We tell their stories. It was very important. So this is the 5th time I've introduced this bill. 5 times. So this has been Bill 145, Bill 49, Bill 194, Bill 16, and Bill 54. We debated in 2017 and it passed second reading with support from everybody across the aisle. It's a good bill. It's an important bill. Today is the 2nd time we're going to be debating this after it being introduced 5 times. We've kept the bill on the order paper because it's an important bill. It's about fairness. It's about justice. We've also kept it on the order paper because of the work of the people in the gallery and their colleagues to keep it alive. They are the motivation for doing this. They collected over 10,000 signatures on a petition to see this change. The bill ensures that workers doing the same work in residential care settings are treated fairly and have the protections of WSIB. Too many workers in retirement homes and group homes still don't have the protections they deserve. And these are people who care for the people we care for most, our parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, friends and relatives and neighbours who have a developmental exceptionality, a physical exceptionality. They require hands-on care. And the people who do this care are the people in the gallery and their colleagues, and they're there every day. They're there for us and for our families. It's hard work. It's work that has a lot of risk. It's easy to be injured. And we have a situation where if you work in a long-term care home or a hospital with the same kind of risks, you've got WSIB coverage. So why is it that people taking the same risks don't get coverage just simply because their employer is different? You know, we created WSIB in this province for a reason, to protect workers. Yeah, under a Conservative government. I heard somebody say that. Yeah, that's right. We all did it together because it's the right thing to do. And I think the intent behind it, including my colleagues across the aisle and the colleagues beside me, was to try to protect as many people as we possibly could, to make sure that if something happened to you, something happened to you, your family was going to be okay. You were going to be okay. And we have a situation here, well, we don't have the backs of these people who are taking big risks, caring for the people who we love. Doesn't make any sense. This is something we did together as an assembly, as successive governments. Created this to protect people. So there are two principles of fairness that guide this bill. One, again, doing the same work in similar settings should have the same coverage. It's only fair. They're taking the same risks. Number two, WSIB is income security. That's what it is. And collectively, we've created this large organization, which, by the way, right now, no longer has an unfunded liability, and we've been returning money to employers. Maybe we should have some balance in that and think about who we should be protecting. That's what we need to do. So here's the difference. WSIB covers 85% of wages. Most insurance plans, 2/3 or less. You get non-economic awards for permanent injuries, compensation for loss of retirement income, direct payments for medical needs such as physio. Now just imagine this, you're making $22 an hour. You get injured at work. Right? Maybe that's probably a good wage in some cases. And you got to pay $150 for physio and wait to be reimbursed. Makes it hard to buy groceries. WSIB, the payment's direct. Helps people recover quicker. Helps them with their medical needs. There's strong return-to-work programs, and there is a clear appeal process. You know who to go to. You're not dependent on an employer to fight for you, whether they decide to or not. So here's the thing I think that's most important. Many of these workers are women, and many of these workers have more than one job, sometimes 3 jobs. If you get injured on one job in insurance, you'll get the 2/3 for that one job. But the other 2, you're out of luck. WSIB covers all of your income. That's a really important principle to remember here. We're asking these women and men to care for people that we love, some of whom, because of the nature of what afflicts them, they can become agitated. They can injure people, not because they intend to, but because it can't be helped. And if you were able to listen to some of the stories this morning about how people who were covered in insurance were injured for 8 months, had a hard time feeding their family, or how people were injured at work but didn't report it because they're not covered. They're not going to go on. They can't. People are living paycheck to paycheck. So when we go to vote on this bill, and we go to debate this bill, and I know that there's some members across who were involved in that first debate who supported the bill, and I hope they will continue to support the bill this time around, 2017. They spoke very clearly and unequivocally in support of it. So here's the thing. It's the second time we were debating this bill. It's the 5th time it's going to be introduced. I don't want to have to introduce it a 6th time, or a 7th time, or an 8th time. We should just simply do the right thing and support these workers. They're doing a lot for us and our families. And they're doing a lot that we can't do. And we depend on them. So we have to say to them, you can depend on us. If you get injured at work, right? If you get injured at work, we'll make sure your family is okay. just like you're making sure our family is okay, that my mom isn't falling in a retirement home, that my brother, adult brother, who has autism, doesn't hurt himself or doesn't get lost because I'm not there. That's what we're talking about here. These are the people that we should be helping. They're helping us. This is a straightforward bill. We should pass it today. I'm not going to give up. They're not going to give up. And the right thing for members of this legislature to do today is pass this bill to second reading. Let's do the right thing. Let's tell all these workers who have our backs, who have our families' backs, that we have their back because we have this thing that we created as a successive government that's there to protect workers, that's there to have their back, that's there to make sure that nobody gets cast aside because they get hurt at work. It's our job to have these people's backs. They have ours, and I look forward to the debate. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Further debate? The member for Ottawa South has 2 minutes to reply.
Thanks, Speaker. To the member of Thunder Bay Superior North, thanks for your comments. WSAB does need improvements, but it's a heck of a lot better than what they have right now, and that's why we have this bill. Member from Hamilton Mountain, thank you for being a champion. Thank you for supporting this bill. Some of your advice is very helpful. Happy to work on this. We should get this to second reading. To my colleagues from Scarborough-Guildwood and Don Valley East, thanks for your support. You know what's important. I know that. To the member from Mississauga-Malton, sometimes they send you to do things that you may not be comfortable doing. Maybe you are. I didn't really quite understand what you were saying simply because you weren't talking about these workers. That's who we're here to talk about, people who take risks. We need to have their back. They're watching. They need to know that you know that they're there and you know what they do. So it was unfortunate. I would like to say to the member from Whitby, who had 2 minutes left on the clock, I would have liked to listen to you say the same things you said in 2017 that I read over again last night when you voted in support of this same bill. So I'm hoping that you and your caucus colleagues will actually follow your words of 2017 and do what's right by these workers. Make sure that we have their back. Make sure that we protect their families. Because those are the things that you said, and it's the work that you've done before. So what I'm looking for and what I expect is for the government to support this bill. And if you don't, all those words in 2017, well, they didn't mean nothing. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The time provided for private members' business has expired.
On September the 26th, 2023, Mr. Fraser moved second reading of Bill 54, an act to amend the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act 1997. All those in favour will please rise and remain standing until recognized by the clerk.
Mr. Fraser.
Mr. Fraser.
Ms. Jama.
Ms. Jama.
Ms. Sattler.
Ms. Sattler.
Mr. Vanthof.
Mr. Vanthof.
MPP Stiles.
MPP Stiles.
Ms. Begum.
Ms. Begum.
Mr. Mamakwa.
Mr. Mamakwa.
Mr. Blais.
Mr. Blais.
Mr. Schreiner.
Mr. Schreiner.
Ms. Brady.
Ms. Brady.
Madame Collard.
Madame Collard.
Ms. Bowman.
Ms. Bowman.
Ms. Armstrong.
Ms. Armstrong.
MPP Tabbins.
MPP Tabbins.
Ms. Fife.
Ms. Fife.
MPP Kernahan.
MPP Kernahan.
Député Gélinas.
Deputy Jelena.
Ms. French.
Ms. French.
Ms. Taylor.
Ms. Taylor.
MPP Shaw.
MPP Shaw.
MPP Harding.
MPP Harding.
MPP Stevens.
MPP Stevens.
Mr. Gates.
Mr. Gates.
Mrs. Gretzky.
Mrs. Gretzky.
MPP Andrew.
MPP Andrew.
MPP Bell.
MPP Bell.
Ms. McMahon.
Ms. McMahon.
MPP Hazel.
MPP Hazel.
Mr. Shue.
Mr. Shue.
MPP McCrimmon.
MPP McCrimmon.
MPP West.
MPP West.
Mr. Bourgouin.
Mr. Bourgouin.
MPP Wong Tam.
MPP Wong Tam.
Mr. Rakocevic.
Mr. Rakocevic.
MPP Pasman.
MPP Pasman.
MPP Bourgeois.
MPP Bourgeois.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise and remain standing until recognized by the clerk.
Ms. Dunlop.
Ms. Dunlop.
Mr. Lecce.
Mr. Lecce.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Fideli.
Mr. Fideli.
Mr. Ford, Etobicoke North.
Mr. Ford, Etobicoke North.
Ms. Jones, Dufferin Caledon.
Ms. Jones, Dufferin Caledon.
Mr. Bethlen Fawley.
Mr. Bethlen Fawley.
Mr. Sarkaria.
Mr. Sarkari.
Mr. Downey.
Mr. Downey.
Mr. Smith, Bay of Quincy.
Mr. Smith, Bay of Quincy.
Ms. Surma.
Ms. Surma.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Smith, Perry San Muskoka.
Mr. Smith, Perry San Muskoka.
Mr. Tabolo.
Mr. Tabolo.
Mr. Flack.
Mr. Flack.
Mr. Pacini.
Mr. Pacini.
Mr. Tanigasola.
Mr. Tanigasola.
Mrs. Tangri.
Mrs. Tangri.
Mr. Parsa.
Mr. Parson.
Ms. Williams.
Ms. Williams.
Mr. Cho Willowdale.
Mr. Cho Willowdale.
Mr. Lumsden.
Mr. Lumsden.
Ms. Kanji.
Ms. Kanji.
Mr. Kersner.
Mr. Kersner.
Mr. Cho Scarborough North.
Mr. Cho Scarborough North.
Mr. McCarthy.
Mr. McCarthy.
Mr. Romano.
Mr. Romano.
Mr. Jones, Chatham, Kent, Leamington.
Mr. Jones, Chatham, Kent, Leamington.
Mr. Liardi.
Mr. Liardi.
Ms. Hogarth.
Ms. Hogarth.
Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris.
Scott.
Ms. Scott.
Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Bailey.
Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Barnes.
Mr. Ray.
Mr. Ray.
Mr. Anthopoulos.
Mr. Anthopoulos.
Mr. Coe.
Mr. Coe.
Mrs. Martin.
Mrs. Martin.
Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Yakubuski.
Mr. Yakubuski.
Mr. Saunderson.
Mr. Saunderson.
Ms. Dixon.
Ms. Dixon.
Mr. Hardiman.
Mr. Hardiman.
Mr. McGregor.
Mr. McGregor.
Mr. Dowie.
Mr. Dowie.
Mr. Sarazan.
Mr. Sarazan.
Mr. Riddell.
Mr. Riddell.
Mr. Smith, Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Smith, Scarborough Center.
Ms. Gallagher Murphy.
Ms. Gallagher Murphy.
MP Brazil.
MPP Brazil.
Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Pang.
Mr. Pang.
Mr. Holland.
Mr. Holland.
Mr. Graywall.
Mr. Graywall.
Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Kanapati.
Mr. Kanapathy.
Mr. Byers.
Mr. Byers.
Mr. Anand.
Mr. Anand.
Ms. Skelly.
Ms. Skelly.
Mr. Sandu.
Mr. Sandu.
Mr. Smith, Peterborough Kawartha.
Mr. Smith, Peterborough
Ms.
Kawartha.
Pierre.
Ms. Pierre.
Mr. Babikian.
Mr. Babikian.
Ms. Smith, Thornhill.
Ms. Smith, Thornhill.
Mrs. Y.
Mrs. Y.
Ms. Gamari.
Ms. Gamari.
Mr. Sabawi.
Mr. Sabawi.
The ayes are 36, the nays are 67.
The ayes are 36, the nays are 67. The motion is lost.